Boy, that's pretty bright right there. I think I need to tone that down a little bit. That's weird. Okay. That's about right. This is a video on my 3 knives that I have. And this is the first one I'm going to show. And this is the Kershaw 760 Stonewash. So I can get it to, there we go. You can see it's got a pretty nice texture on it. I've had this knife like 10 years. One of the reasons I like it is because of its size. It's the thinnest in its category. It only weighs about 3.5 ounces. These other two weigh almost 5 ounces. This is like 4.9 and this is like 4.7. They're pretty close. This one is 3.5, so it's quite a bit, and quite a bit narrower too than these. These are almost a 1/2 inch wide, or they are a 1/2 inch wide. This one's about 3/8. So this one's quite a bit smaller. This is an older knife, and this one does not have ball bearings. These two do. This one just has washers on each side of the blade as it opens. So it suffers a little bit of that because of that, mainly in the paddle. Start with really nice paddle. I probably like this paddle the most of the 3. But just paddle just action of the knife with just straight paddle is not enough to open the knife. Okay, I got it that time. And if I notice, if you put your finger on it and let it develop some pressure on the knife and then let go of the finger, it usually comes, well, it's making a liar out of me. Okay. There, I did it again. But most of the time it won't open all the way. Now it needs a little bit of wrist assist. Give it a little wrist assist, it comes out every time. And I've gotten used to that. I've tried to adjust the blade. Can't really adjust it. And as long as you give it a little bit of assist, it'll open every time. So I like the blade. Let me put the knife out there so we get a little bit closer of a view on it. Let's focus. There we go. Nice knife. Let me take this one out of the way. And really like it. I wouldn't get rid of this guy because I've had it for so long and I just like the size of it. Just quality feeling every which way. I paid like 26 bucks for this knife 10 years ago at Walmart. Now this knife sells for about 40 bucks. They still make it, but it costs more now than it did back then. Worth every penny though. Next one I'll start with is the Ruike. This is the Ruike P121. The Hussein, I believe. This knife is the bomb right here. See if you look close, got some really good texturing on it. You know, you can definitely feel it doesn't have as much texture as this one. This one, come on, focus, you fuck. There we go. See, this one definitely got, but this one's pretty close to it. Made very well. Got a nice clip on there. So does this one, by the way. What makes this knife different than that one is it's got, like I said, the ball bearings. Let's raise this up a little bit. Get a little bit of distance here. Taking this video with my cell phone. Okay. When you hit the flipper on this is not like the Kershaw. Kershaw hangs around and wants you to give it a little bit of help. This one doesn't need any help. When you hit this one, this blade is gone. No spring assist. It just has a nice action to it. I mean, and this knife is just kick ass. I mean, look at that beauty. Got this one in green. If I'd have had it all over to do again, I would have got it in black. But the green's cool because it's a little bit different. But you can see when this blade comes out and you hit it, you can see this blade. See, it just closes nice. Nice flipper. And speaking of flipper, I really like this flipper. See, it's not quite as big as the Kershaw's flipper. Kershaw's what I would call a little bit oversized, which is still fine with me because this is the one I like the best. But this one comes in second because it's got a nice, I would call this a finger-friendly flipper. It's just real easy on the hands when you just hit it. Beautiful knife. Set that down. Get us another little closer view of it. Just a nice knife. 35 bucks. You believe that shit? 35 bucks for this knife. When I think of what a good knife it is and how this thing opens, they like it wants to talk to you when it opens. I mean, it's that good. 35 bucks. Whoa, that's like a steal. Wonderful knife. If I was on a point system and I was grading these knives, this one would win. Because this one has everything going for it and there's really nothing to knock it on points. Now, despite, let me raise this again, despite the knife, that one winning on points, this guy is my favorite of the three. This is the Bestech Kendo. And the Kendo just has, what attracted me to it was the shape. I mean, just look at that guy. This one's got a simulated wood too. It's not quite as textury as the Ruike. It's a little bit smoother, but it's still plenty good. Now, where this knife is different, I mean, besides the shape, I mean, look at that shape. That just, to me, that just screams badass. This one, excuse me, this one has the blade, so you can see how much pops up, and it's all stainless steel on both sides, where this one is more low-key. This one's all black on both sides. And the blade, that's about as close to flush as you can get. There's nothing to feel on that one. So it's just centered up perfect. The clip is the best of the three. If you look at that clip, you can see there's no, when you put that in your pants, there's nothing sticking out of the pocket. You're going to see the top of the clip before you see the knife. See that? So they nailed the clip. They rounded this off where the Ruike's more, you know, shaped like this. So you're going to have this little corner here sticking out of your pocket, where this one, it's all the way in the pocket. Now, if I was to knock this knife, in spite of it still being my favorite, it would be in the flipper. I dislike the flipper the most out of the three. If you look at the difference between the flippers, come on. See, the front of it's gibbed even. It's got a little gib in it, and it's, see how it's much smaller it is? So because it's smaller like that, it's not as finger friendly. This one's going to tell your finger that you're operating it. This one's going to say, if you're not ready for me, don't use me because I don't mess around. So when I first had this knife, I was kind of torn a little bit because it was my favorite from the beginning, you know, for the reasons I said. And it was my favorite because I liked the way this one opened, even better than the Ruike. But it was that flipper. That flipper just kept getting me, and I was getting mad at the guys for designing this flipper because I was saying, this is just digs into my finger too much, man. And I finally got used to it from flicking it, maybe toughening up my finger a little bit. But boy, this one will mess with you a little bit. But anyway, the action. This one has even more force behind it than this one does. No spring, but man, when you hit that thing, it's got a lower pitched sound. It almost sounds like the bolt of a gun. It's got that kind of a lower pitch metallic sound to it that I just love. Reminds me of my automatic pistol. I have a Glock 17 and I just love the sound of it too. But this thing, I could just flick this thing over and over again because the sound of it coming out, just that mechanical feel. And again, this is nobody's business too. When you flick this knife, it's going to town. It's not waiting around for you. It's coming out like right now. And let's get a close up of that knife too. This one kind of has a unique kind of blade to it. Let's go down a little bit. See, each one of these knives has their own personality to them. And shoot, I only have these 3 knives, but I go on YouTube and I see these beautiful, gorgeous knives that I want. And if I bought every one that I liked, I'd have 30 of them. So I said, you know what, I got to stop somewhere. So I'm just going to stop at 3 for right now. But anyway, to end the video, I actually had a 4th one. And I took it back. I sent it back to Amazon today. And it was a Civivi Baklash. And I had been looking at that Civivi, and it was the last knife that I got. And I was looking forward to it because I read a lot of reviews about it. I liked the looks of it. It just was killer. Just beautiful. And I'm going, man, I got to get this one too. And then I'll just stop at these 4. So I get it, open it up, and I'm all grins. You know, I'm looking at this knife and I'm going, dude, you are seriously badass. And I really liked it. And then I put it in my hand, and the very first time I flicked it, I'm just going, oh, dude. Excuse me. I was so disappointed. I can't even tell you. It was just like anticipation, building up for the anticipation. It was like going after this gorgeous girl, man, that you've just been dreaming over. And then you're with her and she takes off her clothes and you're going, what? Okay. And, you know, just kind of not what you were expecting. And that's the way it was with this knife. Looked good, but when I flicked that thing open, it was just too soft. It was just wimpy is the only way I can describe it. I'll give you an analogy. It's sort of like I wanted the Civivi to slap me, but all it did is patted me on the forehead with the Kleenex. That's kind of sums it up. But I kept it all night, flicking it, and I even tried adjusting it. One thing I'll mention about adjusting these knives, don't even mess around with it. I see all the YouTube guys, they're doing all this stuff and saying, oh yeah, that improved it big time. You know what, it's going to be about as good as it gets out of the factory. And I know this because I mess with all 3 of these knives. Once you start turning this bolt to either tighten or loosen the knife, what happens is, if you look at that knife, see that knife is centered right down the barrel. You start messing with this screw, and you're going to shift this knife either to the left or to the right. Depending on if you tighten it, it's going to go one way. If you loosen it, it's going to go the other way. So you're going to be way off center. You're going to be so off center sometimes, it looks like it's almost going to be touching right there. So I tried to mess with them, and I don't really know why I did because I didn't get it any better. But I saw that immediately on all 3 knives that it was shifting as I was turning it. So just leave it where it is. If that thing is centered, that's as good as it's going to get. Unless you take it apart and maybe you have some gritty oil in there or something, and maybe the oil will improve it. But that screw, that thing's set in one spot to center, and once you're centered, leave it because you're not going to get it any better. At least that's my take on the whole thing, messing with 4 knives. So back to the Civivi. The Civivi sure wasn't tight, because it was the only knife out of the 3 where I could grab it like this and I could press down with my hand and it would completely come open and lock. I mean, I'd have to throw a little force in it. See, I can't. Oh, look at it. I did it. This one came out. See, that's what it's doing. Oh, it did it. And the Civivi just does that easier than this one. And I can't get that one to do it. And the Civivi, just every time I could get it to do it. So if anything, it was a little bit on the loose side, but it had a nice feeling action. It's just that the flip with if you didn't give it a little wrist assist like I did on this little Kershaw right here, it would misfire more times than not. So after messing with it for, like I said, all night, I said, you know what, the knife's still cool enough to keep in spite of that. But I kept going back to these two, and every time I would open these two, mess around with them, and I'd open them, play with them, then I'd go to the Civivi, and the very first time I'd hit it, I just go, no, man, this is just all wrong. It's just the Civivi can't, just the opening part of it can't compete with these other two. These other two just kick its ass. So it depends what you want in a knife. If you're more for looks, the Civivi's right there. But to me, it's all about the action. I don't care how good it looks. If it's got a wimpy action to it, something wrong with it, I don't want it. So after, keeping it a few hours and trying to decide, I said, hell with it. I don't want it. So I sent it back. Sent it back to Amazon. Let them have it. They already refunded me. So I have this thought of Civivi, and I know it's not fair because it's the only Civivi I've had, but it's just imprinted now in me. So I'm going to have a very hard time buying another Civivi knife. I just am. And maybe if I saw one in a store and I flicked it a few times, I says, I want this one right here. Maybe then I would get one, but that's probably what I don't think I buy one by mail anymore because I was so disappointed in it. So I think that's about it on my knives. I might get some more later on, even though I say I'm not going to, but if I do, I'll compare them to these two bad boys right here because these are the shit right here. This guy's cool too. I'm not going to leave him out. He's cool too, but these two are straight up badass. This one, king badass. Okay, that's about it. See you later.